Good evening, vinyl community. Hi, I hope everybody's doing really well. Okay, yeah, this is Rob back for another video. Yeah, thought I'd come on and do my usual eclectic finds bit that I do. Yeah, sorry I haven't been on for again a couple of weeks. I have no excuses. I'm not going to think of one. So it is what it is. Yeah, so this is my usual hauls from my man Ben, SJ Records. You know the score. He's my sole source of vinyl these days. Yeah, he's hasn't disappointed and has come up with some great stuff. Yeah, so I hope you're all doing really, really well. I know we're going into some kind of lockdown, more lockdown restrictions here in the UK, particularly those in Wales. They're having to have a mandatory lockdown for the next 2 weeks. Hopefully that won't happen here in England. Yeah, we'll keep fingers crossed and hope that we manage to avoid that one. But anyway, yeah, I'll cheers anyway, guys. So hope you're all doing well. This is a ruby ale, so very refreshing. Only about 4.2%, something like that. So quite mild, not too bad, and very refreshing. Okay, so I'm going to start with these finds, and I'm going to kick off with probably for me is the most left of center one. This particular album was in Ben's folk section for quite some time, and I looked at it several times, and I just didn't pick it up. Then eventually it wound its way into his bargain bin. And I was going through it last Saturday and I saw it and I thought, yeah, it was only a couple of quid or something. So I thought, why not? I'm gonna pick it up. Okay, so this is an album called Acousmatic Sorcery, and this is by a gentleman by the name of Willis Earl Beale. Okay, that's the gatefold. Okay, so as you can, from what I knew, nothing about this album whatsoever. So I did a bit of a dig on Wikipedia, and he's an artist, folk experimental R&B artist from Illinois, Chicago, in the US, and yeah, it's 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 not an easy listen. But having said that, I think it's very honest. And there's a sort of catharsis going on here, I think, with this guy and his delivery. I actually prefer his vocals to his guitar playing. His guitar playing's kind of quite an acquired taste. It's very, to say primitive sounds a bit patronizing. I don't mean it like that, but it's, yeah, it's kind of hard to get into. Yeah, it is interesting, and it's kind of sort of strange sort of keyboard effects and sound effects and so on. And it actually comes with this like lyric booklet, which is called Principles of a Protagonist, a novel actually about something. So I haven't actually really read a lot of this, but there's some quite kind of risque drawings in here, which I'm not going to show, obviously, because I'll get slammed by YouTube police for that. So, yeah. Anyway, I believe this was his first album, and it was released in 2012 on XL Records. I think he's done 9 albums since, so he's basically done pretty much an album a year. so quite a prolific artist. Some of them on Bandcamp, some self-released, so kind of a real mix of stuff. But it's interesting. It's going to take me maybe a few more listens to really get to grips with it. But yeah, what the hell, for a couple of quid, it was well worth checking out. So there we go. That's Willis Earl Beale and Acousmatic Sorcery. Okay, second one is one that I actually bought not so long back, but this is definitely an upgrade. This is Feed and Fleece, which is Van Morrison's fantastic 1974 album. They call his breakup album after he split from his wife, and it's sublime. It's one of these albums that like Astral Weeks, that you can see why there's been so much written about it, and why it's so revered and liked, because it's the real deal, and he sings his heart out on this, and the songs are just absolutely stunning. So this is an original press on Warner Brothers. So as I say, I did have a later press of this, but it sounded pretty awful actually compared with this one. I mean, this one isn't in tip-top condition, but because it's a first press, I don't know, the dynamic range on this is just so much better, and there's just no comparison to the later reissue. So delighted to pick that one up. Okay, next one is a classic. This is In Jury's debut album, New Boots and Panties. I've never heard this album. I've heard a lot about it, and I know it's a classic. And I did actually have the first Blockheads album, which is called Do It Yourself. I was never particularly keen on that, but this is fabulous. I got this the other day and been spinning it. Played it a couple of times, and yeah, just really quirky songs, just great humor in there, and sort of obviously you got a bit of punk attitude in there as well, and it just works fantastically. Very, very entertaining album. Really enjoying that one. So this is an original, I think, on Stiff Records. And really pleased to get this one. That's the inner sleeve. So yeah, that was a good one. Okay, next one. I don't often see many sort of Kinks albums or original Kinks studio albums in the wild, particularly the late 60s, early 70s ones. But Ben had a cache of some albums that a guy who's got quite a large collection, and from time to time he does sort of drip feed some albums in that when he needs the money, and sells them. And this was one of a couple of albums that I saw that I got him to put aside for me. And this is the Kinks. Let me get this right. This is their 11th album from 1972. And this is everybody's in show business. Everybody's a star. That's a double album there. I think this was when they changed record labels to RCA. So this is, I could be wrong there, I don't know. This is an original on RCA Victor, orange RCA Victor. That's the gatefold. Yeah, you see a picture of them there on stage, and this is an album of two halves. So half of this is studio. That's the inner sleeve with the lyrics. So yeah, half of this is a studio album with new studio cuts, and then the second album is a live album, which was um, 2 nights at Carnegie Hall, or I would imagine the highlights from those concerts anyway. And there's tracks like Muswell Hillbillies, Lola, yeah, and a version of Banana Boat Song. But yeah, the first record on this is studio recordings, and the only couple that I was familiar with was Supersonic Rocket Ship and Sailor Heroes. I'm not sure whether that was a single, but yeah, it's a really nice album. Yeah, I think this is when he was sort of going full pelt back into his kind of vaudevillian sort of period, very much kind of comedy songs and so on. That I think he'd continue with on the present Preservation X1 and 2, which are sort of concept albums that he did after Ray Davies did after this. But yeah, I really enjoyed it from what I've heard of it so far. So great stuff. Yeah, that's the Kinks and Everybody's in Showbiz, Everybody's a Star. Okay, now the next one is an artist that doesn't get shown. I don't think gets shown at all in the VC. He's a 70s pop artist that, to be honest, I think doesn't get the respect that he deserves. I think he's great, particularly his first 4 LPs. This is David Essex. And this is his 1976 album, Out on the Street. Now, my sister had this album back in the day, and I absolutely love the title track off this. It's a kind of a concept album, very well. It's described in Uncut as 47 minutes of nervous breakdown set to music. And yeah, I mean it's very dark and kind of gritty compared with the stuff that David was doing on his first 3 studio albums. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It's got the wonderful production of Jeff Wayne, who obviously by the time of War of the Worlds, obviously had worked with David for several years, and they just, David would write the songs, and the music and the lyrics, and Jeff would sort of bring his kind of fantasies to life and the songs, to life, and this is a really, really good album. Don't be put off because it's David Essex, or I'm going to make you a star sort of thing. This doesn't sound anything like that. This is very, very produced, almost like a prog album, I guess. But it's really, really good, really good stuff. And yeah, I picked this up from Ben's cheap section. He actually let me have this for nothing, so I was delighted because it's a really minty copy. There's a gatefold there with all the lyrics. I love those, like Yellow Brick Road, where you get those albums in the 70s where they kind of use pictures to sort of describe the lyrics. That's really good. This is on CBS Records. Yeah, and it's just in immaculate condition. So yeah, I highly recommend that. If you see a copy, you can pick David Essex albums up for pennies, £1, £2, or even free. But they're worth picking up if you see it for a couple of quid. It's in good nick. Pick it up. Do yourself a favour. It's a decent listen. Okay, moving on. We have absolute classic. I used to have this album on CD years ago. I don't know what happened to it. Maybe left it at a party or something somewhere. But this is my favourite Lennon album. It's the Plastic Ono Band. album, so don't really need to say a lot about this. Everybody knows this. Yeah, the old price stickers there. Suffice it to say, I paid a little bit more than that for it. This is actually a Fame copy. I know this is Richard McCook's biggest nightmare. He hates this label. But nice that they've reproduced the original Apple label there. And yeah, I mean, this is just fantastic. Working class hero, mother, God. Just Lennon, I think, at his most confessional and honest, just pouring his heart out on this record. And yeah, absolutely love it. Classic, brilliant. Okay, next one is an upgrade for me. This was another one that came from the same collection as the Kinks album I showed earlier. This is a really minty copy of the Strawbs' 1971 album, Grave New World. And it's just in absolute minty, lovely condition. That's fantastic trifold there. And yeah, I really like this album. The copy I had didn't have the booklet. This one does. So we've got all the lyrics there, and little pictures, illustrations through the book. This was £10, which I thought was an absolute bargain, to be honest, with the condition that it's in, because it's looks like it's virtually never been played. It's on this original A&M Records, but it's just immaculate. There's virtually no spindle wear on it at all. And yeah, I mean, it's the music on this album. It's progressive, yeah, folky in places, bit jazzy. Yeah, it's got a bit of everything, and that's why I love it. Other than that, I'm not a massive Strawbs fan, but I just think this is a terrific record, and yeah, Dave Cousins and co. came up trumps with that record, and for £10, I thought it was an absolute bargain. Okay, next one is another one that I used to have on CD as well. Another one that slipped through the net. I did see that Ben did have a first pressing of this about a year ago. It was a bit expensive for me at the time. This is a I'm not sure this is a Dutch pressing, is it? But it's a later 70s pressing anyway. This is Sandy Denny's debut album, North Star Grassman and the Ravens. So this is kind of an extension of the songs that she was working on for Fotheringay, which was the band that she was in prior to doing this album. And this is superb. I know the album after this, called Sandy, is generally considered to be her best, but I love this record. I don't think she was. I don't think she bettered herself after this. This is just the real deal. It's absolutely fantastic. That's the wonderful gatefold with Sandy and the usual suspects playing on this album. You got Richard Thompson, yeah, Trevor Lucas, so members of Fotheringay there. Strings arranged by Harry Robinson on the absolute sublime Next Time Around, so sort of Nick Drake connection there. Harry Robinson, of course, did Riverman. again, equally sublime song. But yeah, delighted to get a copy of that, and it's lovely condition. Okay, next one was a freebie, another freebie. God bless you, Ben. And I'm very familiar with Spencer Davis group and Traffic, and I have all their discography. Stephen Wood's solo stuff I'm not so familiar with. And this is an album that I've seen shown a few times on the VC, but never got around to picking it up. I see it quite a lot. This is Arc of a Diver. So this is his 1980 album. That's Steve there. On the inner sleeve of the lyrics. This is like a custom label there on Island. And yeah, don't know anything about this record at all. I've seen it hundreds of times, but just never investigated it. So if anybody wants to tell me anything about this record, be my guest. So, but yeah, fantastic. Glad to finally get a copy of that. Okay, now the last two are sort of post-punk albums, I guess you'd call them. One's a new wave. This is probably my favourite Boomtown Rats album, an album that my sister used to have back in the day. But this is an absolutely minty copy of The Fine Art of Surfacing. This is their third studio album from 1979 on Ensign label. It's literally mint. That's the inner sleeve with lyrics. And the wonderful thing about this, because I often see this in the jacket's not in great condition, let alone the record. This actually comes with a print of the back sleeve. So with Bob Geldof, Johnny Fingers, and the band. So yeah, this is a great record. I mean, you've got a 1-2 punch of Someone's Looking at You, Diamond Smiles. Diamond Smiles probably my favourite song by the Boomtown Rats. And then Having My Picture Taken's great pop song. And then obviously on the second side you've got I Don't Like Mondays. We all know that one. Classic number one, and deservedly so. Okay, last one is I've known their second album because I have it on CD. Fortunately, I've never found it on vinyl, but this is their debut, and this is the Funboy 3's first album. So this is Terry Hall and the guys from the Specials. So after the Specials disbanded in 1982, they, after just doing 2 albums, the guys from Coventry formed this band, Funboy 3. This is a kind of fusion of pop and sort of, it's kind of moved away from the 2-tone sound of the Specials. You got sort of Burundi drums and sort of all sorts going on here, sort of very rhythmic album. But yeah, I mean, fantastic. First 3 tracks, Sanctuary, Way On Down, Lunatics Have Taken Over the Asylum, which was a single. And then you've got the fantastic, infectious Tain't What You Do, It's the Way That You Do It with Bananarama, of course. Big hit here in the UK. And The Telephone Always Rings, which was another single as well. It's a great album. I think it cost me a £5, and it's in mint condition on the Chrysalis label. Very pleased to get that. Yeah, just need their second album on vinyl now to to make it, because they only ever did the 2 albums. So that's it, guys. Quick roundup of what I've been buying the last couple of weeks. So I hope you're all doing really, really well. Yeah, so I've recently surpassed, some of you may have noticed, 200 subs. So I'd just like to take this opportunity to say thank you so much for the support and the continued support for those who watch my channel. I never expected to get even 20 subscribers, let alone 200. So I don't think I'm going to be doing a competition this time around, but maybe at some stage in the future. I know there's one or two, several competitions going around at the moment anyway, of which I'm still working on my entries for them. So yeah, anyway, but thank you guys so much for the support. And yeah, all the best to you, and see you again very soon. Cheers, guys. All the best. Bye-bye.